Many of you gardeners are chomping at the bit, I know, to get outdoors, but until the weather starts to cooperate a little more consistently, you can build a mini garden indoors. And our landscape expert, Phil Steinhauer, is here to walk us through the process of building a terrarium. These terrariums are so popular, Phil.
They are, and you see them in all the stores, and they're really a great project to do in the winter when people are itching to get outdoors. And they're also great, and they're almost foolproof for the beginning gardener. So
I love it. You're right about that, because the terrarium, a few terrariums that I built last year are still going strong. They're doing very well.
That's wonderful. There's a couple things. Start out with a clear container. As you can see, we've got all different sizes and shapes here. So you want to make sure that the container you pick is clear glass so that, again, it gets the right amount of light. Secondly, you're going to think about the type of plants, and I've got two examples here. You kind of want to think wet and you want to think dry.
So wet plants and dry plants. Okay.
And so you wouldn't want to put a wet plant with a dry plant. So keep your dry plants together in your terrarium and your wet plants together in, another one. So in back here, I've got some more of your tropicals here you can see. And the difference here, this would be a closed terrarium. This would be an open terrarium. And they both work the same way in the sense that you won't need as much water in this. This will be a self-sustained environment, and then this will need a little bit more water.
But these are both wet plants.
Yes,
and down in front, you have the dry
plants,
the succulents and the cactus plants and so on.
Exactly. And then you can even go into the stage of an air plant, and here's a bubble planter that is blown glass. And you have just an air plant hanging in there. And
there's no soil whatsoever, or sand in there at all.
Nope, and you need to mist that and keep it wet. I mean, it does need water.
Fantastic.
It's a little bit of a misnomer calling it an air plant.
All right, so how are we going to put one of these
together?
I
thought the principles are basically the same with a little bit different material when you're building a wet or a dry one. So today I thought we would build a dry one. And so what you want to do is start out with some sand here, and I think we've got a bag here for you.
Okay.
So put an inch or two of sand on the base of our container.
All right, here goes.
And if you were doing a wet one, you would use gravel versus that you'd skip the sand process.
Okay.
If you were doing a wet one, you'd have an inch of gravel and then some charcoal. Okay, good.
Stop.
Yep, and that's just going to create our foundation. Now let's pick a couple of these that you would like to use.
Oh, I like this one with the flower.
That's a calancho. So and we're going to leave these in the container because we're going to hide them with the different rocks. And what do we do? Yeah, that's a stone plant.
I like this guy. He's kind of just chubby, and he's not going to grow very tall, is he?
He is not.
You like this
one?
one?
And this is an aloe.
All right.
Yeah, and let's pull that tag out. Right there.
Okay, so the three of them would be enough?
Yep, and they're sitting pretty stable. That's what our sand base does. Now I think for interest, let's add some gravel. You could add some colored sand, but I think the texture of the gravel, and just go up to, you're almost going to cover up your container. So you want to dump a lot. Perfect. Let the camera see. Keep going. More. And we'll dust it off. We've got some tools, a paintbrush, some chopsticks. No, you're doing good. Keep going, a little more.
That is so cool that you don't have to bother taking them out of the pots. Whoops.
Yeah.
Overflow.
A little bit more. And in this case, you would be planting them in soil if we weren't doing a dry one. So you would have your gravel base, your charcoal, and then this would be soil. And then you just take your tools, either some chopsticks or the end of a spoon, and kind of fill in the cracks there.
All right, and we would take a little more care if we weren't under the gun here with the time constraints.
Again, we could add a little bit of interest with some different colored stones in there, add a seashell.
How about a seashell or two over here?
And we would normally have a little bit more.
Ouch, that cactus just got me. Okay, it wasn't too bad, though. That is really wonderful.
And then a turkey baster is a great way to water these. So you don't need a lot of water on a dry garden, probably every 2 weeks. And then probably on your wet gardens, maybe once a week. If it's an open container, if it's a closed container like this, you'll just have to check the soil.
This is wonderful. This will keep people busy until it's warm enough for us to get out and do our gardening outdoors. Thank you so much, Phil.
One more quick fact.
Yeah?
Do not put them in the direct sun on any of them. So you want to make sure you keep them in indirect sunlight.
Great tip, because I have cooked some terrariums that way.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.